Hi folks, I hope you're all keeping well. It's a little bit windy today, so I hope you're getting this and the sound's not rubbish because I forgot my microphone, as always. Anyway, everything's going really good. It's still very wet, but this is the first dry day I think we've had in a while. Feels like about 4 weeks. Sadly though, I got a bit on today, doctor's appointment, other things, and I can only come down here, do the chickens and then do a very quick potter. It's the sort of day where I'd quite like the whole day here, but sadly not today. Hopefully though, if the weather stays as it is, I can get down here tomorrow and Saturday and get cracking. But I'm going to flip the camera around and you can see what I'm seeing. Oh, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll carry on talking and I'll take some footage of the plot and I'll cut it in afterwards like a professional. Yeah, so everything's been going really well. Things I've got growing so far, potatoes are in and they're in pots at home. And I'm growing in those big 30-litre buckets. You know how Tony does at Simplify Gardening? Simplify Gardening? Yeah, I mean, I've always grown potatoes in containers. I mean, even before I knew who Tony at Simplify Gardening was. His method though is very, very good. I do it at variation on that because basically I create my own compost and I also try and bulk things out with straw and mulches and other stuff. But it works very well. A very lazy way of growing potatoes and a very easy way of getting nice, clean potatoes. I'm not going to teach you how to grow potatoes. You want to know how to grow potatoes, stick some potatoes in the ground, watch them grow, pull them out about, what, 90 days later. Or watch Tony's videos because they're pretty good. Yeah, so I've got those in. I've got all my cabbages, my kale, cauliflowers, salad leaves, a lot of herbs. They're all in. If some of them are now a good size, some of them have only just germinated. But hopefully, if we get nice sun like this, they'll start to develop foliage. Because I don't know if anyone's noticed, but basically because it's been so rainy, I noticed this on someone else's video the other day, that they were saying that things aren't growing the same. And a lot of it is due to the rain, because obviously plants need light once they germinate to photosynthesis and can't say the word, photosynthesis and grow. And if it's cloudy and there's not much light in the early part of the year anyway, and then it's cloudy and you block it even more light, it's obviously going to stunt growth. It's actually a thing happened in the Middle Ages where the whole of Europe was covered in, I think there was some volcanic ash and also some really bad weather, and for a whole season it like rained for like, I don't know, 150 days or something, and crop yields went down and everything, and that's mainly because the clouds block out the sun. So if you're all struggling with plants at the moment and you're all struggling and you don't understand why things aren't growing quite the way they were before, it's because of the clouds. Not just the rain, the clouds as well, because obviously things are too wet and they're also too dark. Yeah, I also noticed in another video the other day, who was I video from? Someone talking about compost. Forget it, I'm sorry, if I remember I'll pop it up here. But people were complaining about like compost not doing the same. I've had this problem now for a while with peat-free compost, because last year I tried about 6 different bags of budget cheaper peat-free compost, and I had weed kill problems and all sorts. And if you remember, I did a series of videos and I was going to look at each compost. Well, what I found out from the videos was, and from people commenting, that it's batch problems. So you might have one bag of this budget, you know, home-based B&Q, Wilco, whoever, peat-free compost, and it might be good, but then the next batch might be bad, and it's obviously because they're just collecting green bins from around people's houses, and if people spray nettles and then chop them down and throw them in the green bin, you get that weed killer in, Mr. Bug, you get that weed killer in your compost, and then it kills your plants. So obviously the best peat-free compost you can get is stuff that's come naturally, harvested from, you know, bracken and straw and mushroom compost and all that kind of stuff. And the budget stuff, which comes from green waste, I think it's got a massive quality problem, a massive batch problem. I will eventually make a video about just how bad I think it is. But yeah, I try and steer clear of it. So basically I've bought myself some soil conditioner, which was £40 a tonne from a local building place. It's got bits of twig in it and all sorts. There's a little bit of plastic in there as well. There's nothing, I think plastic's riddled. The whole world's riddled with plastic now, isn't it? And if I sieve that through and I mix it with a bit of strulch, is that how you say it? The straw mulch stuff, or I mix it with some hay mulch or anything else, it's pretty good actually, and when it rots down in 12 months, next year I'll have really good compost. And my plan is to grow my potatoes in this compost that I've made this year. Potatoes will then grow and get the benefit out of, you know, the rich nitrogen goodness that's in this soil conditioner. Fingers crossed, that's what I'm planning. And then obviously when I harvest the potatoes, I can sieve through it, and that'd be really good potting compost for next year. Always thinking, folks, always thinking. So fingers crossed that'll work this year, but I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I've also started working on the compost bin, obviously, because I need to make as much compost as possible over the next couple of years to fill up some more raised beds, because I need to raise this side of my plot off the ground because of the water situation. Because I've been fighting this now for a while, and I've left this area here, look. This has been derelict for close on like 12 months now, since it flooded and the chickens got washed out. So the plan is obviously that this will be the compost production area, and I can get loads of compost made in here. And then hopefully, eventually, when I've got some more funds, I can put a raised bed in here, over there somewhere. And because it's in the shade, quite a lot. I mean, we're almost midday now, and it's still in the shade. And once the sun passes around, it gets a bit of sun, and then it tails off in the afternoon. I'm thinking about growing mushrooms in this area. So yeah, I'm thinking oyster mushrooms at the back of the allotment, and you know, they'll be a nice easy crop because I can put them in, very little maintenance, and hopefully for a couple of years I can harvest really good oyster mushrooms. So we'll see how that goes as well. Hello B, how you doing, mate? Do you want to not sting me? You can go behind me if you want. Oh, there's a bee in the greenhouse. If you go past me, if you go, oh, follow me, come here. Come over here, bee. That's it, follow me over here. Come on, down this way. Down this way, bee. Come here. Come here, bee. Here, bee. Oh, he's probably going to get annoyed and sting me because it's a honeybee. Bumblebees aren't too bad, are they? They just kind of buzz around and bump into the glass and bugger off. Oh, now there's two bees. Oh, look at you. You're amazing. Let's put the camera down, try and get these bees out of here, shall we? Right, so the bee's gone. If ever you want to get rid of a bee out of your greenhouse, I found plant pots are really good. You literally just follow the bee around with a plant pot, like this. And then when you get near the door, you eventually just go, huh! And if you catch it right, the bee and the plant pot go out of the door at the same time, and the bee flies off. And so far, for the last 2 years, that's worked brilliantly. And the bees don't get hurt. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, I chopped the grapevine down over winter because apparently that's what you're supposed to do to get more grapes. Not that I can eat any more grapes than I got last year, because if you remember, I had bags and bags of grapes and I was giving them away to people. But yeah, it's come back. I didn't kill it. We've got growth. We've got growth! Yes! And I just need to sort the other one out now as well. So take the camera around and I'll show you what's going on over there. Now I currently can't really get in this greenhouse. Well, I can, but it's so wet underfoot. I've just piled stuff in here at the moment because obviously this is the corner that floods really bad, and because of that, the grapevine here is in a pot because I don't want it to get rotten in the water. But what I need to do now, because it's going to outgrow its pot, I need to cut the bottom. Can you see? I need to cut the bottom of the pot off, so it will still be in the pot, but then the roots can go down into the slightly wetter soil below, and hopefully that will mean that it doesn't, well, die because of being too constricted. Although, if you remember last year, I was saying that I grew these green grapes in a pot to restrict growth because I'd watched a documentary on how to get really tasty grapes, and how the Italians, I think it was the Italians, might be the French, either way, some of those folks, they restrict the growth of the roots of the grapes by using rocks and bricks and other things, and that means that because the grapevine is stressed, it produces really sweet grapes. And I don't know whether that was the reason why, but those grapes last year were absolutely beautiful. So we're going to try again. And I don't know if you can see this, but my asparagus is up, which means I'm going to munch them. Yeah, I am. And I get a knife. I'm going to eat those asparagus. Oh, let me flip this camera around. There we go. Picking asparagus already. Ho ho, look at them beauties. Alright, they're going to get eaten on the way back to the car, they are. currant bush as well, self-seeder, that's doing all right. Another one over there, self-seeder, that's doing all right. Now, I left my yakking doesn't exist. I left my yak on in the ground to see if it would survive a British winter. It had a pot on top of it, if you remember. So I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks I see growth there. If I don't, it died and I'm buggered. But fingers crossed, eh? Rhubarb still waiting to be planted out, simply because everything's been so bloody wet. But as you can see, everything's going good, although it's a little bit delayed because of the weather. Although it does look like we might have an absolutely bumper apple harvest this year. Fingers crossed we don't get a late frost, because after I prune them, I'm getting so many little buds, look. So many buds. And I've still got my big pile of rubbish because it's been so wet. It's been so wet, I've not been able to get the car down here. And as you know from me walking up and down, backwards and forwards, I get like 2 trips in and I'm knackered, I'm done. So it'd be quite nice if I could just bring the car down, load the car up and then drive off. But it's been so wet, you can't even get the car down here. So to be fair, I took a trolley up the path the other day just with some compost in, and I left grooves in the grass just from 2 bags of compost on a trolley, pulling it behind me. And it's like, I'm just going to tear the grass up. And I know it's not my grass, but you don't want to tear it up for other people, do you? Well, I don't. I just rather wait for it to dry. I know, but that's just me, innit? So anyway, folks, so that's a very quick tour of what's going on the main plot. Oh yeah, and the strawberries are in and they're coming through. Did I say, yeah, the strawberries are coming through. Actually got a flower over there as well. Didn't you? Right, folks, that's about it really. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how long I've rabbited on for. It's a very brief April tour of the plot and what I've got planned. So have a like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll catch you in a couple of weeks. If you've never eaten it like this, raw asparagus, freshly picked, washed. I didn't even check out for bugs. It's all protein in it. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. It's probably one of the nicest things I grow on my allotment. That when you pick it and you eat it straight away, it's just so different. Oh my god. It's amazing, and I'm not sharing. Hi folks, how you keeping? Woo! I've just blitzed the skinny allotment. First proper session of the season really, because of all the rain. Hope you can hear it, because I haven't got my mic again. And I pooped. Flip the camera around, you can see a bit of before and after. Here goes. There you go folks, that's the carrot beds weeded and mulched. Brassica cage with shallots down that side and mulched. I've done some drop onions in there. Oh, yeah, it's basically is it Ruth Stroud permaculture method of basically you just scatter onions and cover them over and see how they go. I've purposely put some on top and purposely buried some deep. As you know from my videos in the past, or you might not know this, I like to pick green onions like spring onions. So I will plant the sets and I will probably harvest them before they even get bigger than a golf ball. So that's that bit done. I haven't got time to trim my lavender yet, that'll have to be done tomorrow. I need to take cuttings from my kale. Pigeons have been eating that all winter, but I don't mind, I've got a few of them now. All the cardboard has done pretty well over there, and that's been topped off with manure. Sorry, I'm really out of breath at the moment. Hello, Mr. Blackbird. And then I've moved the sheets off the paths, put them onto the beds. 1, to get the soil all going warmed up, and 2, to suppress any weeds until I get some more compost down here. And then all I've got to do then is quick weed around the edges and then bark the paths, because they haven't been barked for like 2 years, so they just need a good barking, and then they'll be good for another couple of years. But to be honest, first proper session, pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that. I just want to show you something else as well. Every year when I trim my lavender, I always cut a few bits, and I just cut them and just jab them into the ground next to it. And there's one. Put that there so no one treads on it. And there's one there, look. It's come back this year. 3 lavender plants. So whenever you trim your lavender, whenever you just cut a bit off, for instance, I'll probably cut that bit off there, look, when I trim it next. Just cut it off like you would have cut in, and just jab it straight into the ground next to the plant. Leave it for a year. 9 times out of 10, you get yourself a free plant. Right folks, that's absolutely rapid tour, but I've got to go and do the school run now. So until next time, take care, speak soon. Whew.